What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. You watch MG Meaningful Garage. Alright, so today what we're doing, we're going to be reviewing my 1990 all-wheel drive Eagle Talon. This is a 1G. I have a 2G too, but it's a convertible. But this is my 1G, the car that I use for drag racing. It's strictly a street car, but a weekend warrior type of car. So it's a car that I put some things into to make it so I can be able to go down the track and have some good fun. But long story how I got into DSMs, but I'm going to make it really short here because I think it is important to know the history of how I got into these type of cars. Back in the day when I worked at ShopRite, my ShopRite days, I was into Hondas. I was strictly Hondas. Nothing else, was just Hondas. And I was always a CRX guy. So everybody knew when Pat was coming down the street, he always had a turbo CRX or all-motor CRX, whatever it is. I think I had about, in my lifetime, about 8 CRXs. So anyway, one of my good friends I grew up with, he ended up throwing me the keys because I needed to go home for lunch, but I didn't have my car because my car, I think, was getting the turbo kit put in and it was on blocks, whatever it was. Well, I didn't have a car, so I used to just jog to work, you know, in the morning to get a good workout. So he ended up letting me borrow his car. He had a Talon, I think it was a 90, no, it was actually a 90 Eagle Talon. It was all-wheel drive, so he tossed me the keys so I can go home and get some lunch and take my break. And driving it, it just felt right, man. The way that it hugged me in the seat, the way it felt when the boost kicked in, I'm like, damn, and this is stock, man. So that in turn me into the DSM hardcore guy that I am right now. So actually, we were going to Hutts Point. We ended up going to Hutts Point, New York, and they used to drag race back in the day up there. Everybody that used to drag race there, they knew exactly what I'm talking about. It was crazy. So everybody would go there from Jersey, from New York, Connecticut. We were street raced on Hutts Point. So anyway, my buddy, his brother, myself, we all went with his Eagle Talon, and we went up there just to watch races. We didn't think we were going to do any racing. So my buddy handed his brother the keys, and he was going to be the victim of racing the car that day. So this guy that came around the corner with I think it was a Civic. It was a 4-door Civic, but you can tell it has some cams in there. It was chopping up really good. And his buddy had an Eagle Talon. So my boy was like, nah, I'm not racing that Honda. It just doesn't sound like it's stock, whatever it is. Because, you know, Hondas back in the day, man, they'll blow the doors off you. So, and they still do. I'm not saying that they still don't do, but I'm just saying, like, we knew when you hear something like that, try not to mess with it. So anyway, his buddy ended up saying, hey, let's just run Talon to Talon, you know, give the people a show. So my buddy's brother ended up taking the keys and lining up at the guy. We went to the end of the track and we were waiting by the finish line. So all we just remember is a flagger put his hands up, dropped his hands, and I just see headlights hop and pull over to the side. So automatically we're just like, what the hell? Did he stall out? Did our race car driver, he knows who he is, did he stall out? So we ran down there and like, what are you doing, man? Did you let off the gas? Did you slip the clutch? What did you do? He said, no, man, the guy just launched on me so hard, there was no point even racing. So this guy that was lined up with my buddy's Eagle Talon, he launched the car so hard, it looked like my friend's Talon was stuck in mud. So, yeah, so from that day on, I was like, you know what? I gotta check these cars out. I want one. I really want one, man, because all-wheel drive coming out the hole, nothing like it, man. That was the story. So I'm going to show you, first off, this was the car right here that I thought I was going to keep for a very long time. You can see the for sale sign actually over there. This is the car I had to sell for college tuition money and all that stuff. It hurt selling this car because I just started modding the car. I ended up doing just a few bolt-ons and exhaust, and I ended up doing 13 flat at like 114, 115, something like that, 120. And it just had so much more potential, but I had to sell it because, you know, education first, you know, and it hurt, man. So after selling that, it took me a while after I finished school to find one. And so I ended up finding this bad boy. So of course, me with my finding cars, it had a blown motor, squirting oil all over the place, smoke everywhere. So I pulled the motor, found a donor motor. Donor motor was supposedly built. The guy told me he had pistons, rods, and all that stuff. It was just built, but he didn't have time to finish the project, so he was parting everything out. You're gonna spend a lot of money on a built motor, and it hasn't been run yet. Make sure they got paperwork and the people that built it are credible and all that stuff. Because I got screwed, man. So I ended up buying this motor, bought it for like $2,000, but he said it was built. I mean, he had all the parts. The shell that he was selling was like built to run 9s. It had the roll cage and everything. So I'm like, oh, it's a legit motor. So I ended up bringing the car to, this is the first time me meeting him, Rafe at RRT up in Connecticut. And when I brought the motor up to him, he's like, yeah, dude, I don't think this motor is any good. It feels like it's seized up. So upon him inspecting everything, he said, yeah, it really wasn't built right. So he ended up tearing that motor apart, and I ended up having Rafe build me a brand new motor. I already had, God rest his soul, Kurt Brown cylinder head, which was perfect condition. And I still have it in this car right now. So that's a legend in the DSM world, and his name will live on forever. Ray said, let's just keep that cylinder head, and I'll build the bottom end strong enough to hold the power that you're looking for. My goals with this car was to have a full interior street car where I can drive it on the weekends or drive it whenever. But I wanted to be able to touch 9s. I know, you know, once you start hitting 10s, you need a roll cage and it'll kick you off the track. But I wanted to be able to run 9 seconds and have a full interior street car. I know it's been done before, but my goal was to build this car up, have it able to run 9s, full interior, no problems, and be reliable. I know people's like, there's no such thing as having a reliable DSM. There is if you build it right and you bring it to the right people to build it right, or if you know how to build it right. So this is my beast. This is my weekend warrior car. A car I wanted to get back on the track as soon as possible. So about 3 months ago, I had Rafe work on it. I run E85 in this car, and me being a newbie on the E85, the car sat for a while, and I didn't realize that stuff thickens up and it just clogs your fuel system all up if you just let it sit. You're supposed to really turn it on, you know, here and there. So it sat for about a year and a half, 2 years, and that E85 just clogged everything up. So it was having problems starting and hesitating and everything like that. So I ended up bringing it back up to Rafe, which was about 3 months ago, and he ended up changing everything. I changed out the 2 fuel pumps. I have it's a double pump. I have 255 Warboros in the intake. The fuel lines were completely redone. I had to change the regulator. I had to change the injectors. If anybody's out there running E85, turn your car on. Don't let it sit for 2 years, man. All right, so I'm just gonna give you a little tour around what it looks like in the interior. I want this to be a street car, so you can see it's all original door panels. I want to find the original mats. I gotta clean this out. Just like most of my cars, I gotta detail them and everything. But just like my second gen, this car has the original seats, have the original back seats, still in amazing condition. I like my cars looking original, but for this car, I want it to be able to boogie if it gets down to it, man. So let me just bring you guys inside. All right, so this is what it looks like in the cockpit. Have the original steering wheel. I like that. I like the original cluster and everything like that. Up here where it used to have just the vents for the heating and cooling, you could order these online. It has the vent openings, but then you have the 2 gauge holders here. You can get them with the triple too, but I like the 2 because I wanted to keep my heat, you know, when it gets cold, be able to have a vent there. So I have my wideband gauge here, AM wideband gauge, and I have my boost gauge. And then on the floor, I have my standalone. I should find a better place to mount this, but right now I didn't. I just plopped it on the floor. In the future, what I plan to do is mounting this up on this metal frame for the console up there. So I just have to figure out a way to do it so I can extend this harness a little bit so I can actually bolt it up pretty good, because just laying on the floor like this a little on the sloppy side. So all right, and everybody that owns a DSM, the 1G GSM, knows about this. I took it off. I ripped off the actual lining on here, but underneath I still have to clean this up. This is the insulation for it, but I want to clean this up and actually do a thick fabric to match the interior, but something to look nice and clean. All right, so I'm going to show you guys in the back. These are the street tires. These are ESR ER, I believe 11s or 9s. I can't remember offhand, but these are 17 by 8.5s. I put 40s on here, the tires. I should have went a little thicker. I may change it in the future. I wasn't sure if anything was gonna rub or anything like that. So you can see it has, back in the day, if you had more than 4 fingers, that's a hella gap, man. And you can see I still have a little gap with my 4 fingers in there. So I have some coilovers that I ordered. We're gonna get those installed. Besides from lowering the car, I wanna stiffen up the suspension, because the last time I drove this car after testing, after getting it back from Connecticut, it felt like the car was gonna flip over. It sat so hard. So this stock shocks are not gonna cut it with the power that I'm putting down now. I had the extended studs on here because I run some slicks. This is the back. Everything looks stock here, except for a few things that you can give away. So I relocated the battery, and I'll show you guys in a moment why I relocated the battery. But I have the battery over here right now. This won't pass tech because I plan on running the car at the track in another week or so. So I ordered off of Summit Racing a battery box kit right here. I'll do a little clip-on install in this. Comes with all the brackets to mount this battery box to your trunk floor. It comes with the vent tube, so you can pass tech when you get to tech. You know, tech is, you know, they're there to keep us safe, so they want to make sure everything's good. All right, so give you guys a walk around on this side. It's a pretty clean, rust-free 1G. The only thing is we have a little body work that I want to do, because I want to respray this car. So you can see around here it has little dings. Even when I have it on my hood, there's little dings and dents here. But I planned on getting a lighter hood anyway. Yeah, the body's in good shape. But there is one little part I have to fix over here. I bought the car like this. This has like a little dent here. So I'm gonna pull that out, pull this part out. Let me just give you a side look. See right there? So I'm just gonna pull this out before I paint the car and get that all straightened out before I respray it. And the kid before me, this used to be gray at the bottom. This was a two-tone car. So he sprayed this with some spray paint. So I'm gonna strip this all down and put the right adhesive that you put on the plastic bumper, so I can make sure it gets a good stick with the primer and then paint. So I'm gonna make sure we do this right, but that's why I gotta find the right time to do it. Right now I just wanted to do the performance part and everything like that. So yeah, see little dents here. So little things we gotta fix cosmetically. Got the English Racing front mount. All right, so let me just show you guys a little bit under the hood here. So we got a JM Fabrications catch can for keeping that boost pressure down a little bit. I mean that crank pressure down. This is we got the Magnus sheet metal intake. This car was built by Rafe, like I said, from Connecticut, RRT. He's one of the best and honest mechanics around. Little story about this guy. I mean, I met him. Highly recommended by a lot of people when I was trying to find an actual mechanic to work on this car, and everybody kept pointing to the few shops and a few guys recommend. They said, listen, Rafe is a good guy, honest guy. He's a really good guy. So highly recommend it. So I gave him a call, and he told me exactly what it takes to bring the car up there. What do I expect from this build? So I told him exactly what I wanted, and he was honest. You know, it's going to be pricey. There's a blah blah blah. He just broke everything down to me, and I felt kind of like, damn, he knows what he's talking about. I've seen his car throughout the years at Englishtown back in the day. He had a blue Eagle Talon that he used to just rip the hell out of people, man. I used to always see that car down there. Didn't know him back then, but after going to the shop, I said, hey, I remember watching your car a lot down at Englishtown, and we talked about that. So anyway, long story short, why I said this guy is just amazing. He probably won't remember this, but there was a time after I built it the first time and he finished the build, I went and picked up the car, and after I picked up the car, me and my girl and everybody, we're driving back home with the car in the trailer, and he calls me. So I'm thinking I'm forgetting something. I left something at the shop, and he calls me, and he said, hey, dude, man, I think you overpaid me. And I'm like, overpaid me? He said, yeah, because you gave me the down payment for certain parts that I remember I ordered. And he said, yeah, you overpaid me by $1,250. And I was quiet because I was like, I know I gave him money leading up to picking up the car, but sometimes you just lose track when you're just dumping money into a car in a build like this. So anyway, he said, yeah, you overpaid me by $1,250. And I said, oh man, I said, I'm about a half an hour down from the highway from your shop. I said, and he, oh, well, do you have PayPal? And I said, yes. So he sent me the money back through PayPal. See, there's not too many people that I honestly on this planet that would do stuff like that. I mean, honest people, I know there's honest people out there, but this is like far beyond honest, man. Somebody to recognize that their customer overpaid by that much and being a straight up guy like that and just saying, listen, dude, I think you overpaid me. And he looked over the paperwork. He double checked the paperwork and he said, yeah, you overpaid me by $1,250. So he sent me the money while I'm driving home through my PayPal. And I mean, praise to this guy, man. He's not just a good mechanic. He got a good heart and he's an honest person. So I highly recommend if you have any type of Evos, DSMs, Skylines, or anything like that, or if you need your car tuned, his shop is in Canton, Connecticut. I'll leave the link down below. Just hit him up, man, because this guy knows what he's doing under the hood, and he's straight up and honest, and he's just a good guy, man. So big up to Rafe. So thanks a lot, Rafe, for that, man. Back to the build. So Rafe built this motor. It's still a 2.0 liter. It has a 64-66 precision turbo, English Racing intercooler, 3-inch piping. I already told you it had the Magnus intake manifold. I'm running 2150s on here because I am on E85, so I had to push the bigger injectors. It has somewhat of a stock transmission with this welded center diff. A few things done to it, not something extreme. It's not like a dog box or anything like that. I don't have the money for that. But if it does blow up, I have a spare tranny over here. So if it does blow up, oh well. But I mean, things happen, man. So I'm not too worried about it. So it has a 4-bolt. I just had that installed 3 months ago too, because last time at the track, let me see if I have it in here still. Last time at the track, I did find some time slips in my glove compartment. I'm glad that I kept these because it shows. See, keeping things like this in your glove compartment just brings back memories, and they can be good memories, bad memories, but it takes you down that memory lane. So the last time I was on a track with this car was in 2017. 2017. This car deserves better, man. I put too much work into this car for it to be a trophy in my garage or driving around town. So you guys motivated me to start doing these videos, and by watching this, you're motivating me to get this car on the track so I can give you guys content of this car going down the track, because this car deserves better. But let me just give you a rundown of these time slips. So this one over here, this was my first one. 13.0 at 128. That was crap. And my opponent ran 12.7 at 105. This one is 15.5 at 56 miles per hour. That was a good run, right? Yeah, right. Let me show you my last time slip. This is one that I kind of got out of the hole, but it still was trash because I basically was running front wheel drive. I'll tell you that story after I tell you this time slip. 14.0 at 140 miles per hour. So you know what that was, right? That's all getting out of the hole. The point of me telling you these stories and writing and showing you these time slips is because the whole time that I ran that day, it felt like my car was like one of my old Hondas that I had with my turbo CRX. It wouldn't come out of the hole. I mean, I was holding the, I can't remember where I was launching at, like 5,200, whatever it was. I wasn't on a two-step because I didn't want my transfer case or anything just blowing to pieces. So I was just revving up. It was going to slip the clutch. But still coming out of the hole, car dancing all around, hood bouncing all crazy. And one of my boys was there. He's like, damn, dude, your car looked like it was hopping and it was going to break in half. Basically, when I brought my car up the last time to RRT up in Connecticut, I had a 4-bolt that I was going to have him install because I still was running a stock rear end, which I thought I was running a stock rear end, but turns out my rear end was like basically snapped in half. I had no rear. So I was doing all these runs that I just showed you, front wheel drive. Crazy, right? So I brought it up to Rafe. He told me, yeah, we changed your rear, but did you know that rear was like basically like in pieces? Your rear, I had no idea, but guess what? I kind of figured that because the way that it was coming out of the hole was, what the hell is that? See, this is why I need to get one of those. I need to get one of those screen doors for my garage. Longest I've ever seen. Well, anyway, yeah, he told me about my rear was completely broken in half. So good thing I had that 4-bolt that I finally found. And let me tell you, the first time driving the car with the new rear in it, after getting it tuned and everything like that, the car felt like it was like a complete 180, man. Car felt fastest car I've ever driven. Flat out, fastest car I've ever driven. What better way to get this car going to getting it ready for the track and showing you guys and bring you guys with me to the track. So my plan is in the next 2 weeks, getting this car buttoned up so I can get a track ready. I already showed you what I needed to do in the trunk. I have to get that battery mounted. The reason why I put the battery in the trunk is because I have my battery located down in here, but whenever I needed to jump the car, I was reaching around these pipes and oh yeah, this is all antifreeze I gotta clean up too because it overheated. Because my fan didn't kick on, so I have to fix that problem. But anyway, my battery was down here, and it was always a problem when I had to jump the car. I had to fit the cables down here, and I was a little afraid of touching metal and touching. So I said, you know what, let me just put it in the trunk. And cranking this thing on a tiny battery with E85 is not fun in the winter. So I wanted something strong enough to be able to crank in the winter, so I can actually turn it on in the winter and not let it sit like I did the last time I made that mistake. I used 0 gauge wire, ran it through here off the junction box. Ran it through the firewall underneath here. And it comes underneath the seats. It's all tucked away. And back to here. I don't drag race in these tires, like I said. These are just my street tires. I have some FD RX-7 16-inch wheels here with the 26 9.5 Hoosiers. So these are my drag rims right here. So what you guys got to do if you put these on a 1G, you have to get a spacer. 10 millimeter spacer by JM Fabrications. They make really good parts. I highly recommend these guys. Their billet work and all this aluminum stuff, they make amazing parts for cars. So that's why I ended up getting the oil breather over here, oil catch, I mean. I was gonna get their intake manifold, but a good deal came up with the Magnus. So I ended up picking up the Magnus, and Magnus is like top of the line too. But like I said, JM Fabrications, they make really good things. So you have to at least get a 10mm spacer. You have to get the extended studs, so when you put the spacer on, you'll have enough meat to actually, you know, put the lug nuts on. So yeah, so if you want to run FD tire, FD rim, I'm sorry, FD rim, which is the 16s off the RX-7s, you have to put a 10mm spacer and get the extended studs, and you can run these no problem with the slicks. They weren't rubbing. I had no problems with these slicks rubbing with, believe it or not, the stock suspension. I still have the stock springs in here. And with this big, you know, the suspension on on the stock 1Gs, they have this big spring holder, whatever you want to call it. This thing had no problems rubbing against the tires, because the tire basically came out this way slightly, and it wasn't tall enough where it's rubbing against that strut. But like I said, I'm not going to go through that this year with running stock suspension, because the last time I drove this car and I gave it a little gas, it felt like the car was going to flip over. The car is ready. We just got to fine tune a few things. Like I said, we got to get that battery box in the trunk mounted so we can pass tech. I want to get some suspension put on this so the car doesn't do a backflip when I first launch the car or break anything. So we want to get that nice stiff suspension. I won't be doing this car any justice if I just leave it in the garage, say, hey guys, I got an Eagle Talon, this makes this much power, and don't go down the strip. This car was meant to go down the strip, man. So the goal is to break 13s, because I did 13 at 140. So first we got to break into the 12s. Then our goal is to break out of the 12s to the 11s, break out of the 11s to the 10s, and then my ultimate goal is to have a 9-second full interior street car. But before we do that, we have to make sure the car is in safe condition where I can actually get down the track safely. So I want to change the brakes, I want to do the suspension, I want to get that battery all set up, make sure the heating issue is not going to be a problem. We're ready, man. I'm super excited. I'm very excited to get this going. I want to bring you guys along with me. Hopefully in the next week or so, we can do our first test hit at the track. I'll post it when I'm going to go to the track, so maybe you guys can go there and see live that you know what I do with the car, and then we could talk a little bit. But my goal is to get the car down the track safely, do one pass, and then we start hammering on it before the snow comes, because you know how New Jersey is. The weather is crazy, and it's already hitting football season around September. So you know it's going to start raining a little bit more, and then October comes, and then November, and then we're already back in the winter. So we have to get this car going. So thank you for watching another episode of MG Meaningful Garage. We finally gave the proper introduction to the Black Eagle, my 1990 Eagle Talon. I would love for you guys to hit the thumbs up if you like this video. Subscribe to the page so you can keep tabs on if this car is going to get into the 9 seconds. And again, thank you for watching.